What if I told you the average Amish family saves 20% of everything it earns, builds its own home, carries almost no debt, and feeds 12 people on a fraction of what a modern family spends, not because they earn more, but because they never stop using 10 practices the rest of the world abandoned? Growing food. The Amish kitchen garden is not a hobby, and it is not a supplement to the grocery budget. It is the grocery budget's replacement. Amish families maintain large gardens that supply the majority of what the household eats through the year: vegetables, herbs, root crops, and fruit from trees planted on the property that produce annually without replanting. The garden is planned in early spring against the household's actual annual consumption, what the family eats, in the quantities they eat it, assigned to specific beds before the first seed goes in. Nothing is grown that will not be used. Nothing the household depends on is left unplanted. The economic logic is straightforward. Every pound of food a household grows is a pound it does not purchase. Every vegetable harvested from the garden in July is a line item removed from the grocery receipt in July, August, and through preservation every month of the following winter. The Amish do not grow food because they enjoy gardening as a leisure activity. They grow it because purchased food is the largest controllable expense in any household budget, and the most direct way to control it is to produce it. A well-managed kitchen garden on Amish land reduces the family's grocery spending by hundreds of dollars annually at minimum. Over the course of a farming lifetime, the cumulative saving is not hundreds of dollars. It is the financial foundation the household stands on. Food preservation. A garden that produces abundantly in summer does not save money if the surplus rots before it can be used. Food preservation, canning, drying, and freezing is what converts the garden's peak production into a supply that lasts through the months when the garden produces nothing. The Amish family that spends August running a pressure canner and filling cellar shelves with quart jars of tomatoes, beans, corn, and fruit is not doing extra work on top of the garden. It is completing the work the garden started. Without preservation, the garden is a seasonal food source. With it, the garden is a full year food supply. The investment required is modest: glass jars, a pressure canner, and the labor of several concentrated weeks in late summer. The return is months of shelf-stable food that requires no refrigeration, no supply chain, and no purchase transaction to access. Canned tomatoes sealed in August are opened in February at zero additional cost. Dried herbs harvested in July season meals through the following spring. Frozen cuts of meat from November butchering feed the family through April. The Amish pantry built between July and November is what eliminates the grocery run from December through May. The preservation work is not optional to the system. It is the mechanism that closes the loop the garden opens. Cooking from scratch. The Amish kitchen does not use packaged soup, processed cereal, or pre-made anything. Meals are built from raw ingredients: flour, dried beans, butter, eggs, fresh or preserved vegetables, and meat from the family's own animals. The cost difference between a meal assembled from raw ingredients and the same meal purchased in processed or packaged form is significant on every individual transaction. Across a year of daily cooking for 10 or 12 people, that difference is not marginal. It is the gap between a grocery bill that strains a budget and one that does not. Every dollar spent on a processed food product includes a premium for the processing, the packaging, the transportation, the retail margin, and the brand. Raw flour does not carry those premiums. Neither do dried beans, farm eggs, or homemade butter. The Amish family that bakes its own bread from bulk flour spends a fraction of what the family that purchases sliced bread weekly spends on that single item over the course of a year. Multiply that ratio across every meal category: breakfast, lunch, dinner, preserved goods, condiments, and the cooking from scratch practice is not a lifestyle preference. It is one of the most powerful cost reduction decisions a household can make, and it requires nothing more than the skills to do it and the time to apply them. Buying in bulk. Non-perishable staples that the Amish farm does not produce: flour, sugar, salt, dried goods. Canning supplies are purchased in large quantities directly from suppliers or wholesale markets rather than from retail grocery shelves. A 50-pound bag of oats costs less per ounce than any small container available in a grocery store. The per-unit price of almost every non-perishable staple drops when purchased at volume, and an Amish household with a large family, adequate storage space, and the discipline to plan annual purchases rather than weekly ones captures that price difference consistently across every category it buys. The Amish also patronize Bent and Dent stores' retail operations that sell products with damaged packaging, discontinued product lines, items close to or past their printed expiration date, and overstocked goods at discounts that regularly run 50 to 80% below standard retail price. For a household that understands which products remain safe and usable past their printed date and which do not, these stores represent one of the most efficient purchasing channels available. Nuts, dried goods, canned products, drinks, and cleaning supplies purchased at 80% discount cost almost nothing compared to the same items purchased at full retail. The Amish large family that would waste nothing of a bulk purchase is the customer these stores were made for, and the Amish family treats them accordingly. Repairing, not replacing. Shoe repair businesses operate in Amish communities because the community creates enough demand to sustain them. That demand does not exist at the same level in communities where throwing away a worn item and purchasing a replacement is cheaper, faster, and culturally normalized than bringing it to someone who can fix it. The Amish approach to material goods is the inverse of the disposable economy that surrounds them. An item that can be repaired is repaired. A tool that can be rebuilt is rebuilt. A garment that can be mended is mended and worn until the fabric itself can no longer hold a seam. The economic logic behind repair culture is not complicated. If the cost of repairing an item is less than the cost of replacing it, repair is the rational choice. The modern consumer economy has systematically worked to make replacement cheaper than repair through cheap manufacturing, deliberate design, obsolescence, and the elimination of repairability from product design precisely because replacement generates a new sale and repair does not. The Amish are not affected by this dynamic because they are not operating within the consumer economy's assumptions. They repair because the skill exists in the household or community. The cost of repair is low, and the item that was repaired performs the same function as the item that would have replaced it. Nothing about that calculation has changed since the practice began. Building their own. Amish homes, barns, and outbuildings are constructed by community labor. Materials are purchased, labor is not. When a family needs a new barn, the church district arrives at dawn, divides into work teams under an experienced carpenter's direction, and completes the structural frame by nightfall. The women prepare and serve the noon meal. The children carry materials and observe. By evening, a structure that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars in contractor labor stands completed at material cost only. The family whose barn was raised owes the community nothing but the reciprocal commitment to show up when the next neighbor needs the same thing done. This principle extends beyond the barn raising to every construction task the household faces. Roof repairs, home additions, outbuilding construction, and major maintenance projects are all addressed through the same community labor exchange. The contractor invoice that a non-Amish homeowner receives for equivalent work does not arrive because the contractor was never called. The skill to do the work exists in the community. The labor shows up because that is what the community does, and the only external cost is the material. An Amish family that builds its own home from community labor and material purchases spends a fraction of what a conventional household pays to have the same structure built by a construction company. That fraction is the difference between a mortgage that defines the family's financial life for 30 years and a home that is owned outright when the last nail is driven. Learning practical skills. Every practical skill a household holds is a professional service invoice it will never receive. Carpentry, sewing, mechanical repair, animal husbandry, food preservation, plumbing, and basic construction are all taught within Amish families across generations passed from parent to child as fundamental household knowledge rather than specialized professional expertise. The child who learns to sew at 10 will not pay a seamstress at 40. The young man who learns to repair farm equipment at 14 will not call a mechanic at 35 for problems he already knows how to solve. The family that knows how to preserve food does not pay anyone to do it for them. The compounded saving across a lifetime of self-performed maintenance, food production, clothing manufacture, and building repair is not hundreds of dollars annually. It is tens of thousands across the span of an adult life. More importantly, the skills themselves are not transferable only to the tasks they were originally learned for. A person who can build a cabinet can build a barn section. A person who can preserve food can manage any surplus efficiently. A person who can repair mechanical equipment can keep a vehicle running long past the point at which a less capable owner would replace it. The Amish investment in practical skill education is not vocational training. It is the household's primary cost reduction strategy implemented before the first bill arrives. No credit, no debt. Very few Amish carry credit cards. Those who do use them for rewards points rather than credit, meaning they pay the balance in full and never carry interest charges forward. Amish businesses operate with low debt levels. Amish families build homes within their means, pay off mortgages as rapidly as possible, and treat saving as a non-negotiable portion of income rather than what remains after spending. The community saves approximately 20% of household income consistently, a rate that the average American household, which saves closer to 4 or 5%, rarely approaches. The financial consequence of carrying no consumer debt is not visible on a single month's budget. It is visible across a decade. The household that carries a credit card balance at 18% interest, a car loan at 6%, and a mortgage at 7% is spending thousands of dollars annually on interest payments for money it borrowed to consume things it no longer owns. The Amish household spending that same money on savings or land carries no such drain. The interest expense that consumes a significant portion of the average American household's disposable income does not appear in the Amish budget at all. Over 30 years, the difference between the two approaches is not the cost of a vacation. It is the difference between financial security and financial fragility. Community resource sharing. Expensive equipment, farm machinery, large tools, specialized implements is shared across the Amish community rather than individually owned by each household. A piece of equipment that 6 families share costs each of them 1/6 of its full purchase price in capital outlay, 1/6 of its maintenance cost, and 1/6 of the storage space it requires. The same tool that would require each household to budget several $1,000s if owned individually requires each household to budget several hundred when the cost is distributed across the community that uses it. The sharing extends beyond physical equipment to knowledge, labor, and skill. A community member who knows how to do something teaches the one who does not through a formal lesson with a fee attached, but through the natural process of working alongside someone until the knowledge transfers. The barn raising is the most visible form of this exchange, but it operates at every scale of community life. A neighbor who knows electrical work helps with the wiring. A neighbor who knows how to set fence helps with the fence line. A neighbor who knows how to butcher helps at butchering. The transaction costs nothing on either side in money. It costs the willingness to be available when the community needs what you know, and to accept what the community knows in return. No entertainment spending. Amish evenings are spent playing games, reading, doing quiet activities together as a family, and visiting neighbors. Birthdays are celebrated with a meal and the presence of family. Weddings are community events that cost the hosting family the food and the space. Holidays are observed through gathering rather than purchasing. The concept of commercial entertainment, paying for experiences, content, or distraction that a person or family could not produce themselves, does not appear as a significant budget category in an Amish household, because the community itself provides everything that commercial entertainment is purchased to replace.